Phase Zero bonus episode coming at you. I'm BD, joined today by Aaron Perrine.
What's going on, y'all?
We got Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody.
And you know who's in the house for a Daredevil episode? That's how you know it's going to be Daredevil. This is how you know it's going to be good. We got Adam Barnhart.
Thank you for having me this morning. It is negative 6 degrees out where I am, so don't mind the attire. I'm going to stay warm and stay comfortable.
You could have done this inside, you know.
Yeah, what's the fun in that? Do you guys see like the smoke coming off my body, just radiating the heat?
Well, we appreciate you being here, Adam. Adam, by the way, everybody, is a published comic. He's got a comic in shops. Go check that out if you have not. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to name drop it on comic book. So all I'm going to say is go to follow Adam, check out his comic book. I don't care if we're allowed to promote it this much. I am anyway. But also he is best friends with the cast of Daredevil. They actually are probably having dinner tonight just after having breakfast this morning. So we had Adam on because this is our Daredevil Born Again, Everything We Know So Far episode. And Adam has been covering all Daredevil all the time on comic book. Really great work. And recently he hosts a series for us called Creators on Creators. And I mean, Adam, we have clips from this that I believe that they're going to be playing for the first time. I don't think the whole thing is this episode of Creators on Creators available yet in its entirety?
No. So this is a Phase Zero exclusive, man.
Woo! Thank you, sir. So tell us about Creators on Creators. Tell us about this episode that's coming out on Comic Book Channel soon.
I just like talking to people, man. And it's kind of a super in-depth thing. I think we went 54 minutes yesterday with Mr. D'Onofrio and David Mack, the creator of Echo. The last one was Brian Michael Bendis and Bill Sienkiewicz, and those two could have talked for 4 hours if we let them. So it's just kind of like a deep dive. It might not be the spiciest stuff, but if you're a comic nerd and you like the process and seeing, like an examination of somebody's mind, you can watch the video and just see their brains, if that's your thing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's just a very natural conversation where people are really talking about kind of their perspectives, their skills, their history, and I think it's a really cool series you do. And I appreciate you coming on here to talk about one that's very relevant to Phase Zero right now, very relevant post Echo with Daredevil Born Again coming up. So as I said, this bonus episode of Phase Zero is Daredevil Born Again, Everything We Know So Far. You're going to hear a couple things from Vincent D'Onofrio that you've never heard before. You're going to hear us talk about all the facts, all the comics that could inspire it, and kind of what we think could happen after Daredevil Born Again. And so I think we could just kick this off. I mean, I know Adam is excited for Daredevil Born Again.
I'm shaking with excitement.
Jenna, Aaron, where does this one go for you? I'm very excited for this. This is looking at 2025. Well, if Fantastic Four comes, it's not number one, but it's up there towards the top. I'll say it's up there towards the top. But yeah, where does this fall on your kind of hype meter?
I was going to say, are we doing the 2025 rankings already?
Yeah, let's cut into the chase.
It's definitely, I mean, depending on what even comes out in 2025, because as we know from this show, that evolves on a weekly basis, basically. But if this does come out in 2025, I am very excited for it. And I think especially a lot of the updates we're going to get into have me more and more excited. So it's probably in my top 3, but who knows what those 3 projects are even going to be by the time we get to that year.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bit of a selfish angle on this because I need the show to do well so that all these things will be freaking 18 episodes long. Like that's what I'm out here for. Like if the people who say that these shows don't stick to landing and they feel rushed, whatever, you need to be rooting for Daredevil. This is one of those K-pop situations where it's Stream Luna. Like we need this to do good. We need numbers to be where they need to be.
Yeah. And I mean, the episode count is actually the first thing we're going to talk about on this show. In order of the notes here under our little facts tab of news that's been reported, things we know, announced at D23 in 2022, which she might not be on today's show, but Jamie was at D23. So we have to make sure everybody remembers that fact. So Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, they were on stage with Kevin Feige, and at that time, it was announced as an 18-episode series, which I'll be honest, my first reaction to that was, wow, that's a lot of episodes. It's more than they ever did on Netflix. Adam, when you heard the 18-episode news, what'd you think of that?
No, that was my exact first thought because For all the people that woke up at 3 a.m. to watch through 13 episodes, it's like, man, this is too much. So when they said 18 episodes, I'm like, I don't know about that, but who knows? You know, Disney Plus are certainly episodes are certainly a lot shorter than the Netflix ones have been, or were, I guess, and so there was that kind of sense of relief. But 18 episodes, man, any way you cut it, that's still a lot. That's half the year. That's almost half the year, a third of the year, you know.
That's what I thought, was how much time is going to be spent on weekly releases of Daredevil, which honestly, as we all grew up in the era of, kind of half seasons where you'd have 24 episode shows, at least 16 episode shows. Really, they kind of shrunk down. But I remember Lost being 23 episodes, 24 episodes, and then it shrunk down to 16. The Walking Dead started at 6, but then became 16 episodes. And now we're down to these Marvel shows are doing 6, which clearly for the most part, for me, isn't working. So 18 felt like the complete jump to the other side. And now with our first clip from Vincent, I mean, Adam, if you want to tee this up, you asked Vincent about Vincent D'Onofrio. I say that like we're friends. I'm not his friend. You're his friend. I still have to call him Mr. Fisk. But yeah, you asked him about this.
Yeah, just asked if he felt it was a kind of return to network storytelling. You know, you mentioned Lost and all these other. Even look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, where they did 22 episode seasons or whatever. You know, so I point blank asked him if the 18 episodes felt like a return to television. You know, he spent so much time on Criminal Intent, right? And then he responded with the revelation it might not necessarily be 18 episodes.
Yeah, let's Peter
on stage with you and Charlie that, 18 episodes. Do you feel this is kind of like a shift back to network storytelling?
I don't know. I have, the amount of episodes keeps fluctuating. So I don't really know the number that we're at right now, but it seems like there's a few shows that could work with more episodes than 8 or 10 or 6, whatever, 5. Echo is like 5. I think this show could definitely work with more episodes. I know that Charlie is, and I am too, happy to do that, but it's but the number keeps fluctuating. I think you're going to have to wait for an official announcement, because I don't want to say a number that we're going to do because I'm not even quite sure what it is.
I find that interesting. It sounds like 18 episodes ain't happening, personally.
Sounds like it, right? It's interesting because I followed up with like a smart aleck comment saying, well, let's just say 24 or 36 and will it into existence. And he flat out said, I'll never do that. So it's not fluctuating. It's not fluctuating to the more side. It's definitely fluctuating much less.
Aaron, you're the most analytical person I've ever met. You're the prophet. What are your thoughts?
I want to say 12, but it wouldn't surprise me if it'd be like 9, just because of all the stuff that's happened with the development. No. That sounds like what it would be. That's just what it sounds like from that. I want it to be as many as it needs to be, because there's the last 3 projects. There is some visible seams from stuff getting shaved off of the project to meet a certain episode number. I think Adam and Jenna and you would also agree, right?
Can I offer my prediction? I would say probably 16 is probably the number I'm going to shoot for, because there were reports that came out somewhat recently that were saying that they're going to have 9 episodes for like the first bulk of episodes, but then like who knows beyond that. I would not be surprised if like the back half of the season gets shortened a little bit, but we ultimately get a number that's close to 18, but not exactly 18. I also need to clarify, they did announce the show at San Diego, and then they had both of them on stage at D23, because I do remember all of us at San Diego in person being like 18 episodes is so much. So I was like trying to make sure if I misremembered that or not.
Wow, I completely misremembered that then, to the point that I was just about to be like, are you sure? But I'll take your word on it.
I was Googling it while you were talking because I figured the Daredevil fandom would probably let us know if we were incorrect. So
no, but you know what happened was Jamie was at D23 and that threw me off. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But I want to cry because Aaron said 9 and Aaron's always right. And I want at least double-digit episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if this landed at about 13, like the Netflix shows we're doing. Personally, but I think 18's a lot. Depends on the release format, but I don't know. I think Marvel TV has quite a bit to learn in terms of just pacing, episode counts, all that stuff. But yeah, at the time of the announcement, both at San Diego and the follow-up at D23, there was the question of, is the Netflix stuff canon? Is it not canon? I tried to get Charlie Cox to talk about it a little bit on the red carpet, and he was just like, I'm so happy to be a part of this. And there was really no comment on it. And everybody would kind of ask this. And then my buddy Joe Deckelmeyer at Screen Rant finally asked Brad Winderbaum just flat out, is this canon, at the Echo Junket? And Brad Winderbaum, who is head of streaming animation and television for Marvel Studios, said yes. As far as I can tell, yes. And then shortly after he said that, I think he personally went into the Disney Plus thing and added them to the timeline, just moved a couple things around from his manager account where you can move things in Disney Plus. Imagine that. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so Daredevil, the Defenders shows are added to the timeline in the Marvel Cinematic Universe on Disney Plus, which we all take to mean, yes, they are all now canon. And then, of course, some people are like, but Mahershala Ali, who cares? Shut up. Yeah, I think it's great that it's canon. And so let's talk about the canon then. In your opinion, Adam, I mean, what kind of stuff does that bring to the MCU, other than obviously the facts of what happened, but for the fans, what if that have been hashtag Save Daredevil for years, and now it's kind of like the biggest win ever. It just gets to continue outright. What's the takeaway from that?
Yeah, first let me scream. Just one thing. Let me shriek. Someone in the comments, go on Open Disney Plus. I want you to check something. Go through the original timeline. Just make sure Iron Fist is in there. Let me know if Iron Fist is in the original timeline.
Is Finn Jones coming back?
So it's this weird thing, we're in the middle of the multiverse saga. So I think I made myself content with the fact that, this is, in World 2 or Earth 2 or something, and now it's canon, which poses a lot of questions, because I think we all thought we were under the assumption we're getting a new Vanessa Fisk. So did Ms. Holt just get canned or fired or something, and there's questions like that. And of course now everything's in flux because they fired the writers and the directors and all that stuff. But canon, man, I'll die on the hill that the Defenders versus villains are the best Marvel villains we've ever gotten, between Kingpin and Kilgrave. And you brought up Mahershala, even though Cottonmouth got killed off after 6 episodes because of contract negotiations, and Alfred Woodard's Mariah. It's the villains are incredible, man. I mean, we could throw the Punisher in there too, I guess, in Daredevil season 2.
Yeah.
And that's just I think that's just the product of getting 13-hour-long episodes and letting these characters be fleshed out. These shows are so damn slow, man. They're not. We don't have to worry about the stakes. They're microscopic in scale. We're talking. They spend way too much damn time looking up the owners of LLCs. Who wants to see that stuff? And that's what these shows did. They're just so slow that it afforded them the opportunity to explore the characters and stuff. And the end result was dynamite villains. I know. Kilgrave, the Purple Man, has a broken neck, but it's comic books. We'll put some of that dragon juice Sigourney Weaver's character was drinking or something in Defenders.
Break my
resurrect.
Yeah,
it's canon, man.
You got to spend time on the slower stuff, because these shows came out prior to TikTok. None of our
pre-Quibi days.
What?
Pre-Quibi days.
Yeah,
right. Quibi, that was a thing, right?
Now all these shows happen in a Quibi.
Yeah,
especially if you're Jim Viscardi.
Yeah, and Jim, they're still too long for. And I saw somebody say that they kind of, I forget it wasn't anything disrespectful, but sort of pointing out the fact that I was saying 18 episodes feels like a lot, and we used to just get that regularly. I think it's interesting. It is a really interesting perspective, because I do love spending time in a show. I mean, if I rewatch Lost, I'm sure I'll be like, wow, they really took some time with some of these characters and extra stuff like that you wouldn't get in much of the stuff we get today. I mean, in a 6-episode show, you just can't have an ensemble like that. You can't have the Grey's Anatomy ensemble and every character matters. You can't have Game of Thrones. Well, Game of Thrones was 10 episodes a season, and then it became shorter towards the end. But that was different because they were already established. So I don't know. I mean, 18 episodes, also in the MCU, 18 episodes feels a little different because there's so many other things that are going to happen over the course of 4 months. There's at least going to be one movie probably, you know, there's their job. So we've gotten so trained to think of these franchises as sort of like their events, and then they kind of happen, and then the next one happens. So I feel like 18 episodes makes that feel kind of harder to have the events happen. It would be, I long for the day that they could have a series going on Disney Plus and then a movie releases in theaters, and that same next week you see the fallout on the Disney Plus show. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tried it, but like barely was allowed to even do it.
Yeah.
I want to see that. So I want to see that sort of cohesion in the MCU, and I'll go nuts for it. The creative team has changed. It was Chris Ord and Matt Corman. Now Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson are directing. They previously directed Moon Knight and Loki season 2. I don't know the remaining episodes, but I think they're also probably doing over some stuff. It sounds like this show went through a major overhaul. Originally, Karen and Foggy weren't coming back, but now Eldon Henson and Deborah Ann Wool are coming back, which brings up the question of, is Vanessa getting recast? Is it the same Vanessa? Has that been answered, Adam?
No, it hasn't. Yeah, who knows? You know, the word, what, I don't, Twitter, you know, is it? I don't remember if someone on Twitter or someone at THR or one of the trades said it, but the pilot's getting reshot because apparently something happened in the pilot that didn't flesh with the new continuity or canonicity or whatever. I don't know where that came from. I saw it on the internet. It could be fake. It could be real. But no, I would guess. I mean, since it's canon, it's going to be weird. But it's also right up Wilson Fisk's alley to something to happen to the first Vanessa and for him to trawl the streets of New York City finding another Vanessa to marry. You know, so who knows? Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
I did not even think about that angle of it. I just assumed it would just be the same character and she would just look different. But that idea is like even more twisted, and I almost want that to happen.
Kingpin found his Vanessa variant in the same universe. I see Vincent D'Onofrio sitting there in front of Kevin, and they're talking about recasting Vanessa, and he's just like, "Don't you dare embarrass me in front of Vanessa." The new showrunner, and I believe this is the first Marvel Studios title to have a showrunner, is going to be Dario Scartapene. I mean, what a New York name, first of all. Fantastic choice just on name alone. But Scartapene, I mean, it sounds like you're from Brooklyn or the area right there. I have no idea Dario's ethnicity, but it sounds like a person from New York for sure. Does previously to Punisher. I love that.
John Bernthal confirmed, man. Yeah.
What's that?
John Bernthal confirmed.
Oh, isn't John Bernthal? We know. I mean, we know.
Yeah.
I mean, we know he's back. That's like public knowledge, though, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, John Bernthal
confirmed. You know.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. So yeah, and it starts filming soon. So all this leading to the fact that it is going to resume production on whether it's kind of reshoots or continuation, or obviously maybe probably a bit of both, but mostly new stuff. Starts filming soon. And Adam, you asked Kingpin about this one.
Sure did. I said, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he said, "It's great because Daredevil starts filming again soon."
Peter, let's check this one out.
Days away from restarting Daredevil. We're about to plunge into a lot of work. Things are good. Echo did pretty well. I'm very happy with that. Very happy with the attention that Alak was getting.
Days away now. What are your thoughts on the paparazzi? I know the first round we got all sorts of set photos and stuff. Did you guys are you going to go Kingpin on some paparazzi so we don't get set photos? Can we, suspect some set photos, or what's going on?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, last time it was interesting because there was a couple of extras or background actors that were actually there to sneak photos, which just never happens. Like, that's never happened to me before. So that was very strange how they somehow got through the casting of it and stuff. But no, I mean, it's like, I think things are going to be more secretive than ever, but there will always be shots. Is that what you're talking about? Just people taking shots and posting them?
Yeah. Leaking secrets,
I'm sure it will happen. Yeah. We don't plan on stuff like that.
Are you under liberty to say that you're staying local to film, or are you going far away?
We're shooting in New York. Shooting in the studio and in locations in New York.
Awesome.
Probably mostly Brooklyn and Manhattan, Chelsea.
Cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
We're pretty excited. The new script's great, and we've got 2 great directors. Love these guys, and I'm very happy. And Charlie and I both, we speak every day and are working on stuff every day. So it's good.
First of all, I think we all just found out new jobs we got to apply for.
Right? Imagine fumbling that bag, man. You get cast by Marvel Studios and you take your phone. Which person in the chat was that? First of all,
I know.
Was it a Phase Zero person that got an extra job?
Our fandom's too nice. They wouldn't dare.
But if they did, my email address is get me pictures of Daredevil. Man, interesting that I think that you snuck a little question in there. Are you filming locally, indicating the entirety of Daredevil Born Again sounds like it's going to be set in New York.
Yeah.
That's my take.
It just which surprises me because New York, like, apparently when they filmed Daredevil there before, like 90% of the budget just went to the city of New York to allow them to film there. I'm exaggerating some numbers, but a substantial part of the budget just went to New York City to pay for the bagels or something. I don't know. But so yeah, it's filming, like he said, he said Brooklyn, Manhattan, Chelsea. It's filming practically. I think we got some set photos from Yonkers, maybe. But yeah. Plus a studio there somewhere. I don't think what's the studio they film at in Atlanta? I don't think they have a New York location, but I'm sure there's movie studios in the largest city in the world.
Yeah, and it was Pinewood. Now it's I think Trilith Studios.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they have renamed it, or somebody else bought it or something. But yeah, interesting stuff there. All right, we're gonna take a quick 1 minute break. We can get back. We're gonna talk about the comics that seem to be the most likely to be influencing Daredevil Born Again. What happens in those comics? What we can kind of expect as a result in the series. It's a great opportunity to subscribe to the channel on YouTube, youtube.com/c/phase0, to leave a 5-star review and send our show to your friend. See you in a moment. Welcome back to the Daredevil Born Again bonus episode of Phase Zero. Right now, we're talking about the comics that might inspire the upcoming Disney Plus series in 2025. Not this year, unfortunately, but we will wait patiently while they resume filming in a few days. First of all, the obvious comic is the Born Again comic, I would have to say. You would think. But then you look at the story of Born Again and you're like, wait a second. Does this make sense for the show? Adam, what are your thoughts first? Before we talk about the story of the Born Again comic, what do you think of this? What do you think of
that? It's almost too dark. I mean, the beginning of it's almost too dark for Disney Plus. I can't see Marvel Studios' second TVA thing just diving straight headfirst into heroin, you know, or something like that. So Born Again, essentially, Karen Page gets addicted to Hard H and reveals Daredevil's identity to get more heroin. Doesn't seem really the Marvel Studios route. Maybe she gets like addicted to fish oil or something. I don't know. Something else. But yeah, I don't. So yeah, that's the meat and potatoes of Born Again. Kingpin wears a sumo diaper throughout half the story. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Aaron, yeah, you were going to say something.
But if it's a spotlight series, you can do something. You can do something weird. You don't have to completely like play it as close to the chest. I can't imagine them doing Black Tar on Disney Plus. I'm with you on that, but I don't imagine. I'm like, there must be some other middle ground here, right?
I have always seen the Born Again subtitle as like just more of a symbolic thing of like, this is the way we can reclassify Daredevil, like getting a revival without calling it Daredevil again. I even then, elements of season 3 of Netflix's Daredevil kind of dealt with Born Again without getting fully into the heroine of it all. So as always with the MCU, I feel like we're not going to get a straight adaptation at all, but they're just using the name because it fits symbolically. I broke Aaron. I was not prepared to break.
And that's also like Spider-Man Homecoming. Like when we heard the title, it was like, oh, he's home. You know, he's back at Marvel. Yeah, it does make sense. But yeah, this story then goes into Kingpin kind of picking apart Matt's life just in every way possible. Sends him to jail, right? That's Born. Yeah. Nuke goes after him. Nuke, who has never appeared in any of the Defenderverse stuff yet, any of the Marvel stuff yet.
He did.
He did.
Wait,
he did. Jessica Jones.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Damn.
He didn't have the face paint.
No, but he did get kind of roided up by the end of that season. Like he was an antagonist in Jessica Jones.
Okay. So that brings Captain America into the mix in the comics because of the flag on his face. So I guess in the Defenderverse, the story will be, well, he didn't have a flag on his face, so Steve Rogers didn't care. But now maybe if this story does happen, Sam Wilson will care if this guy starts to act like a patriot but a villain. Then ultimately, you know, I think Matt and Karen kind of just come out of this one. You know, is like they live. Karen gets kind of her life together, right? She starts out as she's trying to pursue acting in the beginning of this, and is addicted to drugs, and it's not going well. And then ultimately, it goes better than that in the end. So I don't think this is I don't think. And somebody said, yes, we have seen versions of this in Daredevil. Damon Gray in the comment section. This was basically parts of Daredevil season 3. The identity aspect of it is going to be interesting because then this all leads to Devil's Reign as the next book that I think is very likely to be adapted, which starts with Kingpin knowing that he knew Daredevil's identity and having to remember it. And he's mayor and he outlaws vigilantism. And this all seems like stuff that would be very likely for Daredevil Born Again. So maybe whatever Echo did to Kingpin stripped him of some knowledge. Thoughts?
I just thought it was still, we've said it on the show, of just like the trauma of it all. I feel like that was kind of paramount. It would be funny if that was kind of a side effect of that, but I'm excited for the Mayor Fisk of it all. I'm excited because in the comics, I think Matt becomes like his district attorney. And so if they played with that in the show of like him having to work with Kingpin as a civilian and then fighting him as a vigilante, I think that could be very cool. So I'm excited by it.
Yeah. I think the idea of outlawing vigilantism in New York would be really cool. I don't think there's enough New York heroes. I mean, the Defenders are there. We just haven't really, we're still so uncertain if we're going to actually see them. But, you know, Spider-Man is a factor in that. And I just have a hard time believing Spider-Man will actually be a factor in that. But also Spider-Man's barely in New York anyway in the MCU. Like the closest we've come is see him swing above Rockefeller Center and through whoever bought Avengers Tower, hollowed it out and added some greenery. So this dude is just barely in New York anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting thing. This story also calls for the Purple Man. I would love to see Purple Man come back, only if it's the same actor. Do not recast that role. There's a lot of other Avengers in the story. Like Luke Cage runs for mayor. That pisses off Tony Stark. And then, you know, in the end, ultimately, Mayor Fisk cannot be mayor anymore. So Luke Cage just becomes de facto mayor. I don't think all that's going to happen, but it could be cool.
I always thought we were headed to a place where they were going to outlaw vigilantism as soon as we got stuff in No Way Home and some of the other stuff that's happened in Phase 4. I always thought we were getting here. I didn't think it would be through this, that is interesting. I always thought it would be Department of Damage Control, but having Fisk do it makes a lot of sense too. So I'm like, however we get there, you know.
He also teams up with he also uses the Thunderbolts and stuff. So, you know, you know who else would be using the Thunderbolts would be the first guy who helped outlaw superheroing in the MCU. So we'll see. I think it does align. It does make sense. I'm curious. It's just these ideas make Daredevil Born Again sound like a really, really big show in terms of characters and scope, and I don't really think it's going to be that. I think this is going to be similar in scope to the shows on Netflix, which I think it should be. If it goes bigger, great, but only if it works, only if it's balanced.
I think it's thematically going to match the comics that we just referenced, and also just some of the other Daredevil source material that they didn't get to on the Netflix show. Obviously Vincent said they're going to stay in New York, but I feel like the run where he goes to San Francisco might be a little bit of an influence on the show, even if it's still set in New York. So I think it's just more about the tone and the overarching theme, and less about how many cameos we can expect.
Yeah. I only want the other heroes to play a part if they're integral to the story. The Fantastic Four are arrested in Devil's Reign, or members of the Fantastic Four are arrested in Devil's Reign. So we're not going to see that, obviously. I don't even think we're going to see Spider-Man go to jail. I really barely. Kamala and Kate are both in New York right now. I could actually see Kate Bishop playing a part in this show, but also at the same time, I will not in any way be surprised if she doesn't. And I don't really care.
It's really unique because I think the Champions had an anti-vigilante thing before they did the anti-vigilante thing before.
Yep.
Yeah, before Devil's Reign and stuff. So, leave it to Kingpin to bring back the Sokovia Accords out of nowhere because the events of Secret Invasion somehow, and it's just going to snowball into whatever. Who knows? Maybe would they actually do a Kingpin post-credit scene at the end of Thunderbolts? That would be cool, as he's looking for his own bodyguards or his own team or something of that nature. But I just hope the Mayor Fisk thing kicked off with Charles Soule, and I think that started in 2016, and it just wrapped up last year. So we're talking 7-ish years worth of comics. So I hope it's not he's not elected in Born Again, and then he's also recalled in Born Again, or he's not. But I think what Devil's Reign ended with him wanting to run for president, or the people wanted him to run for president, but then he sailed off into the quite literal sunset. Spoilers for a really good comic. So no, I just wanted to last a little bit,
Yeah, that's a problem I think the MCU has. Every villain is one and done, except for Loki and so few exceptions. A villain shows up and their story is done in one project. And then there are a couple of exceptions along the way. Adam actually asked Vincent D'Onofrio about his thoughts on some Kingpin comics. We have a clip of that as well to play here on Phase Zero.
Part of Wilson Fisk canon.
He's such an interesting character. There's been a few versions of him and stuff, and I just love that so much. And I get inspired by by a lot of the art that's in the comics, particularly when I'm thinking about Kingpin or Wilson Fisk. And the Miller runs were always very exciting for me. And I found early on, before I met David, I found some of his stuff. The first couple of paintings that he did of Fisk were really, really, truly inspiring. I didn't get to tell him that for a while, but eventually I did get to tell him. And then he was just super helpful with turning me on to maybe stuff that I didn't have, or anything that he offered his help.
And that conversation kept going too, with David Mack chiming in about the books and stuff. So if you want to see more of that, you're going to stay tuned on the comicbook.com YouTube channel for Creators on Creators. Adam, do you know when that's going to be released? Yeah, I know that's still being edited right now.
No, yeah, it's big and beefy, just like Kingpin. So I don't know when it's going on. But
so what
soon.
I'm hearing is subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Yeah. So that's a lot. I think anybody have anything else they want to add to the comics topic here before we take a quick break and talk about where we think the story could go after Daredevil Born Again?
Nope.
Okay, cool. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about where the story could go after Daredevil Born Again. Subscribe to the channel, leave a review, send it to a friend. See you in a moment. Welcome back to Phase Zero's Daredevil Born Again bonus episode. We're wrapping this up by talking about what could happen after Daredevil Born Again, before they even resume filming. Adam, I'm coming to you. I'm putting you on the spot. The future for Daredevil. Personally, I have a big idea. I have lots of ideas where this could go, and some places where we know this could go, I think. What do you think happens after Daredevil Born Again?
We still get Daredevil stuff. You know, you can't just throw Charlie Cox to the wolves after one show. You know, and that's the thing. Daredevil's not a 20-year-old character or anything like that. You know, so I think he could stay around. There's plenty of source material they can do. They could, you know, Law and Order SVU it and just have Daredevil do like real life cases or based on similar cases or something like that, you know. So we'll see. You know, I don't think I did ask Vincent how long he has left in the tank, and he says he'll do it now. He'll do it as long as Marvel Studios wants him to, because for Marvel Television and the Netflix stuff, apparently they didn't have the budget for visual effects and practical effects to help beef Kingpin up, so he had to physically gain all that weight. Which I didn't know if you guys knew that, but gaining weight that quick isn't too good for the body. So he didn't want to do that anymore, but for Marvel Studios, he did confirm he didn't call it a fat suit. He called it like a muscle suit something, or I don't know. You guys have to watch the video to find out. But since he can do that now, he's willing to play Kingpin however long he says, or however long Marvel Studios wants. He says he'll keep welcoming the paychecks.
The only place we know for sure we're going to see Daredevil, or at least have reason to believe with legitimate reason, see Daredevil after this, is that Avengers Campus Ride. He was in the concept art for the multiverse ride with King Thanos as the bad guy. So that just leaves me there. Like they know that what Daredevil is. This is one of their most valuable characters right now. And Charlie Cox is beloved. And I think Daredevil Born Again needs to be a success. And then I think it's just inevitable he joins some version of the Avengers roster. I'm really excited to see him start forming relationships with more and more Avengers. You know, him and She-Hulk, well, they certainly have a relationship. Him and Peter Parker. And who has he met anyone from the Marvel Studios titles? And Echo, but like they don't really know each other. They just kicked each other a couple times. So it'll be interesting to see him start developing relationships, and I could see that being something really fun to explore. And I think it's inevitable that he's in the upcoming, Marvel titles.
I hope so. I agree with what Adam said in our previous segment of talking about Kingpin being mayor. I really hope that is something that lasts in the universe for a while. Like, I could conceivably see him still being mayor up until and through Secret Wars, just to like have this extra conflict in the background and to just also have another figurehead in the universe. Because there are so many times in this franchise where we don't really know or care about the president or the government. And so I think having him be mayor as Secret Wars is ramping up could be really interesting. I'm also going to echo what Damon said in the chat, which is eventually I would love it if we got to Elektra as Daredevil, because that run has been good. That costume is incredible. So if there was any ways to eventually get to the point where Matt kind of semi-retires and Elektra comes in, that would be so good.
Aaron, you're muted.
The smile on one Brandon Davis's face if they actually get Jennifer Garner to do that. Imagine.
Or Elodie Young. She would also absolutely kill that. I mean, it would be so good.
I tell you, a hair-brained shot in the dark thing, because there's been a bunch of things. Adam has said it. A couple of other, contemporary sites have said it, where they're like, this guy should be the main bad guy. Just forget about Kang. There's only one scenario where I think that could actually work, and that is if you crib the greatest hits of other things. So if Harrison does not live through Captain America Brave New World, it leaves a power vacuum and a traumatic event where half of the country realizes that the government's not good. And because we're dumb Americans, what do we do when that happens? We elect the most memorable face possible. So you just have him do the Giuliani thing, where he's the name you can trust, and have him be the president of the United States and leader of Thunderbolts and developing Century and trying to get a collider so we can get Vanessa back, and that exacerbates Kang or whatever is going to happen to get you Secret Wars. And that's how you can possibly do it.
Damn, Aaron, you just gave that away for free.
Seriously.
I mean,
That's
there
it.
you
That's a
go.
I'm in.
$1 billion movie right there.
Yeah.
If everybody's just going to yell about it, they hear y'all. He's not going anywhere. I firmly believe he's the villain of Spider-Man 4. Firmly. Like, you willed this into existence now. We're all on the ride now. Does anybody want to get off? It's too late. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Oh, I'm here for it. So, they've teased Kingpin as sort of the Thanos of the street level New York pocket of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was another quote from Brad Winderbaum to Joe over at Screen Rant. And Adam was the first one to tell Vincent D'Onofrio that Brad Winderbaum said that. Check this out.
Bomb was talking about how Kingpin's the Thanos of the street level storytelling Marvel Studios is now doing. Do you want to continue? Do you wish to have the character continue residing at that kind of scope of storytelling, or are you hoping one day? I mean, Avengers: Secret Wars is coming up in 4 years now, 3 years. Do you hope to be in Secret Wars, or what? Where do you want Kingpin to find home at?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
I don't see why he has to just be in one situation. Part of the storytelling in Echo is that his reach has gotten further. He's gone from just controlling Hell's Kitchen and certain stuff coming in from the ports of Manhattan. The veins of his business are running wider across the country, and I think eventually across the world. So he is sort of in every place. That's the way I see it. I see as Vanessa and him being quite powerful, and so I really do mean all everywhere. I love the fact that Brad said that, by the way, because I didn't know that he said that until you told me. That means that there's lots of jobs to come. That's good. It's a good thing.
I really appreciate when actors seem to genuinely care about their character they're playing in these worlds. Like Tom Hiddleston expresses it, and Vincent D'Onofrio expresses it, and it makes me appreciate it even more. And I think that's part of why characters like the people I just named, or characters played by the people I just named, turn out to be such great characters with longevity and investment from the audience. But yeah, I think Kingpin could be a pretty big bad for the MCU. Secret Wars makes this hard to figure out, though, because it's so close by comparison to like the number of titles we're going to get until then. Like, I'm just like, how are we going to tell all these stories fully and thoroughly to their maximum potential before getting to Secret Wars? Because it feels like they all have to be told before Secret Wars.
You say that, but I feel like we've been joking on the show of like inevitably Secret Wars might get delayed again. Like there might be a completely different plan for the slate than what we already know. So there is a chance that like the way that they're kind of retooling Daredevil and kind of like stepping back and pivoting, they might be doing that with a lot more projects than we realize. And there might be time and space to kind of like tell a story of that magnitude before we get to Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our show. That's our Daredevil. Is there anything we know that we didn't say in our Everything We Know episode of Phase Zero centered around Daredevil Born Again? I think we covered it. I'm sure there's something. Somebody somewhere is listening to it in their car screaming, "You didn't mention this thing." Well, good. You already know. So mission accomplished. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you for Adam being here. We're going to go around the horn here. Jenna, any last words for today's show?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media. And as always, go read some comics and go read Adam's comic and go read Daredevil and Kingpin comics.
Aaron?
It's absolutely like important. I like to extend a severe thanks and gratitude to the staff over at Sports Illustrated and over at Pitchfork, which helped form my identity as a young writer. It is sad that these things are going away. If you like things, go read them, go buy them, go patronize them, or they go away.
Go to comicbook.com.
That's right.
please.
Yes.
Absolutely.
As well. Adam, thank you so much for joining us,
No
dude.
problem.
Thank you. Congratulations on another great piece with Creators with Creators
you.
with David Mack and Vincent D'Onofrio, and for allowing us to share some of it on Phase Zero. Any last words for today's show?
No, thanks for having me. This is how I find Sports Illustrated is no more. So that's
Me too.
This is the first
Bummer.
I've heard of it as well.
Yeah.
Rough, man. It's not good.
Oh,
Stinks.
dang. Well, thanks for having me. Anyways, like BD said, read comicbook.com. And like Jenna said, read some comics, please.
There it is. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on Wednesday for another fantastic episode of Phase Zero. We'll see you there. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We are growing quite quickly this year, and I really, really appreciate that. We're all grateful for that and the opportunities it helps bring us. Obviously, we said this was going to be a spotlight episode week. We are still working out scheduling for a pretty exciting spotlight interview. I just don't like saying names out loud because if they don't work out, it is what it is. But we're still working to do some cool interviews with you guys. Our last few spotlight episodes have been really well received. I think this has been a fantastic episode that we kind of came up with yesterday. We were like, what can we do? And I was looking through the chat. I was looking through the site. I was looking at what's performing, and people really are invested in Daredevil. And I was like, you know what? We don't really talk about Daredevil enough on Phase Zero. So we did it today with the Daredevil guy. Boom. Adam Barnhart. Thank you so much, everybody. 5-star review. Play our show for your mom. Play it for your dog. Listen in the car. Take a picture of it on your TV screen and tweet it at us. We appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you soon. Stay warm, Adam.
Bye. Thank you.